Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to, depending on wherever you may live or however you choose to read your clock, this early morning or middle of the night bonus. Before we jump into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And yes, folks, they do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to this early morning or middle of the night bonus upload, shall we?
As you know, Dennis Martin was a 7-year-old boy, went camping and hiking with family members, his dad, and disappeared. There's been a lot of speculation in regards to his disappearance, whether it be his dad or family members, possible Bigfoot, feral people, etc. This is very interesting. So, the first page, to Director, FBI, Attention, Crime Records. From Sac, Knoxville, Dennis Martin, missing person. Dennis Martin, age 7, has been missing in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park since Saturday, 6/14/69. Dennis, an older brother blank William Martin, father of missing child, the grandfather, and other members had been out camping in a remote area known as Spence Field. It is also to be noted that Spence Field is some 4 to 5 miles of mountain trail from the nearest point that can be approached by automobile. The children had been playing when it was discovered that Dennis, age 7, was missing. Sorry, I had a frog in my throat and had to clear my throat. Apologize. Since that time, literally thousands of people have participated in a terrain search in an effort to locate the missing child. This has included Army and Air Force helicopters, National Guard units, regular Army units, and various volunteer groups, all under the direction of the Park Service officials. This office has maintained liaison with the National Park Service in order that we be notified immediately in the event there is any indication of foul play. The area where this occurred is a federal park with at least concurrent federal jurisdiction. To date, however, there has been absolutely no indication of any foul play, and there is no reason whatsoever to believe that this is other than a simple situation of a child of tender years getting separated from his group in the wilderness area. The point where the child disappeared is extremely dense with rhododendron and laurel thicket, and it is generally conceded by all considered that unless the child responded vocally, persons could pass within feet of the child and never find him. In the 6/24/69 evening edition of the News Sentinel, a daily newspaper published in Knoxville, Tennessee, the Chief Ranger, National Park Service, Chief Snebden, is quoted as revealing that the FBI has been checking various aspects of the situation for a week. He said the FBI men have checked out theories that Dennis could have been kidnapped, along with various other rumors that have cropped up, which the FBI is better equipped than the NPS to check. He said the investigation has turned up nothing of significance. This arose the following facts. On the morning of 6/24/69, an agent routinely called on Lee Snelden at park headquarters in furtherance of our close liaison. While talking to Snelden, Snelden received a telephone call from blank reporter for the Knoxville News Sentinel. During the telephone conversation, blank asked Snelden if the Park Service had considered the possibility of the young boy being kidnapped, to which Snelden replied, "Yes, as a matter of fact. I'm talking to the FBI right now, but there has been nothing to indicate that a kidnapping occurred. Following this publication, I have received numerous inquiries from other newspapers and press services asking about our participation in the search for the missing boy, and I have replied that we have not entered the investigation, foregoing the Bureau's information." Now, once again, really quick, the reason why I do keep stopping the video is because I want to clear my throat. I apologize, I really do. I don't know what is going on, probably fall. Now, interestingly enough, a lot of this information, like this page, has nothing redacted. Then we get pages like this, where there's a whole bunch of redacted statements. I don't know if you guys can see that. Sorry, I just bumped the mic. But there are some very interesting key points. Like that first sheet was very interesting because it tells you all who was involved. It also states that a kidnapping had been looked at and there was no foul play even thought about, which is strange because you think a little boy going missing, not even a little boy, a child going missing, foul play would be the first thing that would come to mind, you know. Here's another interesting thing. On page 1, where it said child of tender aged youth, right there, the FBI is involved. What does that tell me about the Tom Mezek case? Tom Mezek was not a tender aged youth. Why were they involved in his disappearance and search? Just wanted to kind of point that out, that right there is concrete evidence that the FBI should not have been involved in the Tom Mezek case, because nothing good came of them being involved anyway. So this is interesting. So the last page that we had just read was on 6/24. All right. The following investigation, Director, FBI, SAC, Louisville, Dennis Lloyd Martin, missing person, Knoxville, teletype, dated 7/31/69, so a month later. The following investigation was conducted by S.A. Blank at Hopkinsville, Kentucky, on 7/31/69 and 8/1/69. The Hopkinsville cross-reference and telephone directories were searched. Sergeant Blank, Hopkinsville, Kentucky Police Department. Blank dispatcher, Hopkinsville PD. G.H. Norfleet, Sheriff-elect, Christian County, and Credit Bureau records checked for people with the name of blank, blank, white male, age blank, 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 was interviewed, 8/1/69, stated he and his wife, blank, had never been to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, or the Smoky Mountains. Said he was working, blank, 6/13 and 14/69. So the 2 days of 6/13 and 14 of 1969. Sorry about the traffic going by. Which can be verified at main office, blank, Nashville, Tennessee, where records of work were maintained stated he was four boys blank interviewed 8/1/69. She verified husband's statement and that they never been to Gatlinburg or Smoky Mountain, the four boys observed by SA. And then there's a lot of redacted on this page. So when I'm saying blank, I don't want you to think like I'm not knowing how to say anything. You like that, don't you? I'm not knowing. Anyway, by SA, blank, very big blank, white male, aka big blank, at his residence on 8/1/69. This individual, according to Sergeant Blank, had blankety blank and has had no employment since. His wife, blank, is employed in a factory, and they have a young son, age 6 or 7. This man has no arrest record in Hopkinsville and has a good reputation. So pretty much all this is stating is that there was a guy who for some reason was interviewed with his wife. They had a child the same age as Dennis, and that they don't think that he's responsible for anything. They've already said there's no foul play. And, it gets even stranger. And really quick, was at the residence, the father being interviewed. This is all redacted stuff, just pretty much stating nothing. This is where it gets a little interesting, I believe. 2, Director, FBI, Louisville. Knoxville, or 2, Director, FBI, Louisville, from Knoxville. Dennis Lloyd Martin, missing person. For the information of Louisville, Dennis Lloyd Martin, age 7, went on a weekend camping trip into the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, June 13 last, with his father and other family members. At about 4 to 4:15 p.m., June 14, 69, Dennis became separated from the other members of the group. And to this date, neither he nor his body had been located. A massive terrain search was conducted by the National Park Service, assisted by members of the Tennessee National Guard, U.S. Army, Tennessee Highway Patrol, and others. The assumption that the boy had simply become lost in the rugged terrain area. There has been no evidence whatsoever of foul play. End of page 1. Page 2. An anonymous letter received this date, Knoxville office, postmarked Nashville, Tennessee. Reading, quote, check out blank blank of Hopkins, Kentucky. So this is where they got their information from, the Hopkins, Kentucky guy that they looked at in the paperwork that I just shared. He was in the area where Dennis Martin was last seen. He has a boy about 7 years of age, unquote. Dennis Martin, described as white male, born June 20, 1962, Knoxville, Tennessee. Height 4 feet, weight 55 pounds. Build medium, eyes dark brown, hair brown and curly. Particularities: head larger than normal. Parents, Mr. and Mrs. William Clyde Martin, Knoxville, Tennessee. Led at Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Identify blank and resolve identity of child. End. And then these sheets have a lot of these kind of blocked off regions where I'm imagining some doodle or scribble had been on. This is August 6th last, talking about William Martin, father of missing child, was contacted by Sack Wallace F. E. Still on the morning of August 7 instant. and was again advised of the Bureau's jurisdiction in this matter. It was clearly pointed out to Mr. Martin that the Bureau can accept no responsibility for a terrain search for his missing child, and that in the absence of some specific information indicating a kidnapping or other violation of federal law, we can conduct no investigation. We will continue to be interested in receiving any information that might indicate a violation, and upon receipt of such will conduct any investigation indicated, but that we have no inquiries pending at this time. So that means after they looked at this guy from Hopkinsville, Kentucky, they contacted the dad and said, listen, Mr. Martin, we have nobody that is even in our sight of possibly taking Dennis. United States government memorandum, very official looking paper right here, my friends. As instructed, affidavits which are attached have been obtained by Special Agent in Charge, SAC, Eastill, and Special Agent S.A. James H. Reich of Knoxville office concerning Mr. W.C. Martin's statement in a letter to Congressman John J. Duncan of Tennessee that Martin had been assured that they would continue their investigation. Mr. Martin had written concerning the disappearance of his 7-year-old son during a trip the family had made to the Great Smoky Mountain National Park in June of 1969. This matter appears to be a misunderstanding on the part of Martin, as SAC still states he did tell Martin that the FBI has a continuing interest concerning the disappearance of his son to discharge our responsibilities should a federal violation be indicated. Special Agent in Charge Estelle and Special Agent Reich deny that they advised Martin that the FBI would continue investigation. SAC Estelle stated that he had talked with Martin and his wife on 7/16/69 and explained to Martin that in the absence of specific information that foul play had befallen his child, the FBI would not conduct active investigation. S.A. Reich states he similarly advised Martin. So pretty much, Mr. Martin wrote a letter to the congressman and stating that, hey, the FBI said they weren't going to give up on searching for my kid. But yet the FBI then said, hey, we never said that. Then why are you involved in the first place? You know, it's a tender-aged youth. Look for him. Don't leave it up to all of these other agencies. You've got the Army, you've got the National Guard, you've got Air Force helicopters. You've got a whole lot of people involved. This is very interesting. Knoxville office, since the time of the child's disappearance, has conducted inquiries to establish the location of 2 individuals of questionable reputation who may have been in the area of the child's disappearance. It was established that neither had been present in the national park when the boy disappeared. Additionally, 1 individual has been interviewed who reportedly heard a scream during the pertinent period. However, the investigation revealed the scream was in an area other than where the child disappeared. We are currently attempting to identify an individual who resides in the Kentucky area as a result of an anonymous letter received at the Knoxville office stating that he had been in the park and has a young boy about 7 years old. Now, Knoxville office will continue to maintain close contact with appropriate authorities to determine if any information is developed indicating a federal violation. So I just skipped a couple of pages ahead. Pretty much all it's saying is, as of right now, there is no kind of anything indicating foul play or kidnapping. On July 21st, 5 weeks after Dennis disappeared, Blank of Carthage, Tennessee, notified the press that he had been in the park on the day the child disappeared, and he had heard a scream late in the afternoon, and thereafter got a glimpse of a humanoid moving through the underbrush. Blank was not well acquainted with the park, and he was not sure where he was in relation to Spence Field, from which the child disappeared. Arrangements were made to have Blank accompany an FBI agent to the park. In the park, Blank pointed out to the agent, a park ranger, the exact spot where Blank was standing when he heard a scream. This point is such a distance from the point where the child disappeared. In the opinion of the rangers familiar with this park, and considering the time element involved, it would not have been possible for a scream to have had any connection with the disappearance of Dennis. So right now you're just they don't know what to do. I mean, they are going in circles with this case. They're talking about a scream. They're not talking about a scream. It most certainly took them long enough to get any kind of search going via the FBI, not through the Park Service Agency. Then there is this letter from James H. Reich, Special Agent, just pretty much covering their asses about the investigation of, or the search for Dennis, stating that, we didn't promise this guy anything. Then there's another sworn affidavit from the SAC, or Special Agent in Charge, William F. Estill, same kind of. And it keeps going like this. Like right here, I'm gonna, these 3 pages right here are the same paperwork that I had just shared with you. Everything about Dennis, the consensus of the opinion of those involved, that the child is dead, but father, here we go. On June 14th of 69, Dennis, age 7, was camping with family members. We already know this part. Throughout the search for this child, representatives of Knoxville office of the Bureau maintained regular contact with Chief Park Ranger, and no evidence was forthcoming to indicate any foul play had occurred with reference to the child's disappearance. In the absence of such evidence, there is no information whatsoever to indicate a violation of the federal kidnapping statute and any other that violation of the federal kidnap statute or other federal statutes over which this Bureau has jurisdiction. So they're saying that Mr. Martin had been advised that there's limitations that the FBI has. Where is that? Consensus of opinion. They're literally stating the same. The first top part is literally the same as extensive search. Here, this is different. 6/14/69, Dennis Martin, 7, disappeared from family camping trip in remote area of Great Smoky Mountains. Extensive search by hundreds of persons representing various agencies was unable to locate the child. The search continued from 6/14 through the 29th of 69. The chief park ranger is of the opinion that the child is dead and perhaps his body is buried in a crevice or sinkhole and covered with debris. Right here's a letter to the Honorable J. Edgar Hoover from John Duncan, member of Congress. This John Duncan is the gentleman who Mr. Martin wrote to during this whole predicament. It just says, "I am sure you can understand the anxiety and concern of parents when they have gone through an ordeal of losing a child. Many authorities, including the Blount County Sheriff, who had searched the Great Smoky Mountain National Park for the child, are in the opinion that the child could have been taken out of the park by someone. In view of that fact, that this disappearance was on federal property, there is a strong possibility of a kidnapping. I would appreciate very much if you would have made whatever investigation you deemed advisable." So now, for some reason, this congressman is saying, hey, I think the kid was kidnapped, yet he has not been on the property or premise. It's pretty much a big, just a big BS. I mean, you got a missing kid and no one is willing to, to me, it seems no one's willing to even go the extra mile. Throughout those sheets, those 120 pages that I literally are the same, it's the same kind of BS going back and forth. Dennis's dad asked assistance or asked the FBI if they could use assistance from like a medium, clairvoyance and stuff like that. And at one point there was a couple, a woman brought in, there was nothing. It was, to me, the FBI kind of led the investigation a lot further along than it should have been. Mr. Martin was given no real answer. He was given nothing. Like, I mean, you've got a congressman involved. You've got J. Edgar Hoover involved. There is one of the last pages, the last page of the information was from 4/1/81. 30-something years. No. 15. He disappeared in 69, so 71. 12 years. 12 years. So Dennis Martin would have been 19 at the time of this memorandum. On 1/22/81, Blank was contacted at his place of employment and advised that he knew nothing about the Martin boy and obtained his information from a neighbor of his, Blank. Thereafter telephonically contacted at Blank in attempt to obtain directions to his residence, set up an appointment for an interview. At the time, Blank was informed as to the purpose of the interview, but stated that he had never heard of Dennis Lloyd Martin and could provide no information as to Martin's current whereabouts. On March 26th of 81, Blank was again contacted at his place of employment and stated that he is positive Blank is the individual who provided the information about Martin. Blank stated that Blank, who is approximately blank years old, used to live in Georgia and had claimed that Martin was living with relatives in an area. Blank opinion that Martin was never forcibly taken from the park and that relatives that live outside the remote area agreed to point out the residents that he may interview and further date. So it's a huge mystery, guys. Like, you've got you've got the FBI saying, hey, he was not kidnapped. You've got this poor kid's dad saying he was kidnapped and taken. Then you've wasted, and I'm not saying wasted time, because any time is valuable to find a tender-aged youth. But you know, they were looking under rocks that shouldn't even been turned. You know, then some random schlep came out of nowhere and said, "Yeah, Dennis is living with this family." Why? Why is that even? And they did. They searched it and they said, "Hey, this is not relevant. There is no anything." So where I'm going with this is it's like a mini book here. This pretty much states that the FBI and any other agency involved didn't know what they were doing. They couldn't find him. They didn't make assumptions, though. The father made the assumptions about him being kidnapped, but they looked and they said, we can't really see if he was kidnapped. I don't think that they did their due diligence by, you know, really looking at other things, though. There's no mention of any kind of feral people or kind of Sasquatch in these pages. There's no mention of a family, and here's the interesting thing. In the kind of tale of Dennis Martin that a lot of YouTubers and investigators spin is that there was a family down the way that saw a large, hairy, bipedal guy carrying a kid. That's not in this document. If that was true, had any truth, it'd be in this document. And I'm sure the FBI would figure out a way of covering that up. None of it makes sense. None of it. It truly is like Dennis Martin just disappeared off the face of the earth. It makes absolutely no sense how he disappeared in front of his dad. His dad was right there. His family members were right there, and he's gone. I think feral people got him. And I heard from a reliable source probably 6 months ago that they had possibly discovered the remains of Dennis Martin. I heard it from a very reliable source, a source that does not lie. But, you know, until I hear that I don't know. I think that it's a cover-up. I think the FBI is covering up that a group of feral people took Dennis Martin. I think that the information that I just heard recently, 6 months ago, that they did discover the body of Dennis Martin, or possibly some remains of Dennis Martin, is true. Do I think we will ever hear about it? Maybe in the next 5 years, to be truthfully honest with you. But From what I'm gathering, yes, they did discover something of Dennis Martin just recently, within the last 2 years. And why are they keeping that quiet? Nobody knows. Could it be because his parents are still alive? And they could do a lawsuit? Who knows what the government does and why they do it. All I know is that a little boy has gone missing, and he's been missing since 1969. And it's disgusting that there wasn't more real investigation into it.
And there you have it, folks. This night-ending bonus upload. I do hope you all enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. A lot of information. Our government hides a lot of stuff from us, and we know that. But periodically, they release information to us to let us know that they're doing good for us. Yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you for supporting the channel. It is your support that keeps this channel growing and going, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone's treated with the respect that we all deserve. Everyone, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there, and they are dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless.